Now it's time to take all of the parts that we've previously made and assemble them to make the body of the guitar. First, I lay the soundboard on top of the sides. I leave the sides in the mold, and I mark where the bracing will intersect with the sides of the guitar, and I make my mark extended through the kerf liner so that I can saw this area out so that the bracing will slide right down into and past that kerf liner area. This is slow and careful work. You saw it very carefully so that you don't go any deeper than you absolutely have to, and then we chisel it out so that the area of the kerf liner is removed. This is the chiseling part of it, and I have a 1/4 inch chisel, and it works perfectly for this. So back to cutting the sides again and making sure that they're all the way they need to be and in the exact location, so that whenever the top is placed on it, the top center line will line up with the sides center line at the top of the guitar and the bottom of the guitar, where the two sides are mended together at the neck block and the butt block. Over and over again, checking measurements, making sure that those measurements are correct. Then the next thing we do is we go underneath and mark the bracing. And first I mark the outside of the bracing, and then I go back on the inside of that and mark about 1/8 of an inch inboard. And this is where I make my cuts. After this, I take the sides over to the work table, and I have a piece of sandpaper set up so that I can just slide the sides over the top of that sandpaper and get the whole top flat, because I want everything to lay exactly flat. When I don't want to have to fight the wood to make it bend in to any kind of curvature. Then after this, we take it back over to the workbench and do any other minor things that where it might be holding itself out from fitting properly. When this is done, then we go back and make sure that the fit is good, and then we start gluing it. And the gluing, we're putting on just enough glue to where it will seat down into the glue, and not so much that it just drips everywhere when we assemble. Then the next step after this is to place the side on top of the glue and make sure it's seated well. Then we flip it over and I clean up the glue on the inside wherever it may ooze out from the kerf liner. This is careful, tedious work, making sure that there's not a mess left. And then I clamp everything down to the work table so that the sides are being forced down on top of the piece, and we get a good clean bond. The next thing we do is we go back and we route the sides with a veneer trimming bit. I'm cutting the sides just flush. And now we're back to the same process as what we did before, where we're aligning the back and making sure that the bracing where it intersects is cut, and all of the kerf liner is out of the way so that it comes together. And again, I flip it over and I'm using that sandpaper again and working that back well. Well, it's ready to assemble now. And so in this photo, I'm just walking you around to let you see what it looks like. You'll notice that I did not cover that. I put in some vertical bracing along the sides. This communicates the sound from the bracing underneath the soundboard to the back. And I wrote a little note there, as you can see. And now I've got it ready for the back to go on. And if you'll note, when I'm putting it on there, I'm not fighting it. It's laying right down just like it should. And now I've got it glued and I'm ready to tie it down. And so what I've got is a whole bunch of rubber bands, and I'm stretching those rubber bands over it. And as I'm stretching it over it, the glue's oozing out the side. And so I will go back after I've got everything all rubber band down, and I'll clean up that excess glue that's around there. Once this is done, this instrument is ready to just sit for a little while and let the glue harden. Now this will sit for a little while and the glue will dry, and after a little period of time, usually about a couple of hours, I will pull all of the rubber band clamps off of it. And that way I can examine the work and see that it's all done well. And so far I can tell this has come out pretty good. So I'm taking it out of the mold in this next shot and just kind of examining it. You can see how good it looks, and I am pleased with what we've done so far. That's the assembly of the body.